Welcome everybody out to podcast number 484. We're going to talk about not going to sleep on critical items. Stay with us.
This is the Elevate Construction Podcast, delivering remarkable content for workers, leaders, and companies in construction wanting to take their next step. Get ready to step out of your comfort zone with Jason Schroeder as he encourages you to do better, live a remarkable life, and expect more. Let's go.
Welcome everybody. I hope you're doing well. I am really excited about being out here in Hawaii and having some good fun and being able to focus. I'll tell you, I've been able to do most of the second book, Elevating Construction Senior Superintendents, to make sure that comes out on time. We just finished the TACT guide. We revamped the TACT course. On the way over here, we got 2 TACT schedulers up and running for the company, Lean TACT. And there's a lot more. There's some blog posts that have been written. I'm telling you, like, I just need to come to Hawaii more often, is I guess what I'm attempting to say, because I am getting so much work done. It's absolutely incredible. I just love being able to focus and get stuff out there for the industry. So we're going to talk today about don't go to sleep on tasks. And I'll tell you, I heard this concept from one of the best builders that I've ever been around. His name is Fred Strasser. He works with Oakland Construction. Absolutely one of the best builders that I've ever been around. And he would say things like, don't go to sleep on that submittal. And I know I've talked about this concept before. I may have even done a podcast before, but with over 400 of them, it's very difficult to keep track. But this is going to be very short. I just want to communicate this concept, is that I would like to ask that you start using that phrase whenever you can, because it's probably the most impactful phrase to communicate what we're looking at. Now, what does it mean when people go to sleep on things? What it means when people go to sleep on things is that they're not noticing what's happening, right? They're not ready for it. It's kind of like, ooh, I'll bring in this little, what do I want to call it? A biblical parable. And I'm not even talking about religious stuff. I'm just using that parable as an example, right? You've heard of the 10 virgins, the 5 wise and the 5 foolish virgins, and that when the bridegroom comes, that 5 of them were ready for the bridegroom and for the marriage ceremony, the procession, and 5 were foolish. Now, when I was younger, I used to think that what that meant is the bridegroom came. It was like really nice to 5 of them and told the other 5 to go to hell. Like, hey, I don't want you 5. But that's really not what was going on. The 5 that had trimmed their lamps and were ready were looking and watching and waiting, right? And the other 5, even if they had oil, the question that I would ask is, were they even paying attention? It wasn't necessarily, do I even have oil or do I not have oil? The question is, were my lamps trimmed and oiled and ready? And was I watching and waiting, or was I asleep, right? And I don't know if they were asleep or not, but in the parable, I mean, really, the other 5, the 5 foolish virgins, may have been asleep. And I could imagine the bridegroom coming and saying, well, hey, there's 5. Hey, this is a jam. Let's roll. Where are the other 5? Are they still asleep? No, there's no way to text them, or I'm just joking at this point, but there's no way to text them or call them. No, we don't know where they are. Okay, well, we got to roll. I guess they're not coming, right? And the problem is they went to sleep on this issue, right? They weren't watching and looking and being prepared for the situation. And I really like that little just analogy because it's fun. It's probably provocative. You're probably like, Jason, that's not exactly the way the story or the parable goes, and I love it. So I've got you thinking now. Now that we're awake, I one time was on a Southwest Airlines flight, and the lady was like, did somebody who lost this $100 bill or whatever? And then she was like, now that I have your attention, please make sure your seatbelts are Anyway, I thought that was really kind of funny. Okay. Anyway, so going forward, People go to sleep on long lead procurement items all the time. People go to sleep on risks all the time. On our projects, we go to sleep on, critical scopes of work and the strategy that we're going to take to implement them. Like, let's say, maybe permanent power or utilities or utility hookups or design or coordination, right? We go to sleep on certain things. We automate the wrong things. Now, I'm a huge fan of automation, but when I'm talking about delegation and automation, I'm talking about delegating and automating the right things so that we can focus on the important things, right? The important things are procurement. A superintendent, a PM never delegates procurement. They both handle that together. I'm talking about safety. As superintendent and PM, they do not delegate safety to anybody. That is their responsibility alone with the rest of the team, because everybody is responsible for safety, but a superintendent and PM are in charge of it and also the main points of responsibility for that. A superintendent and PM are responsible for quality. They cannot delegate quality, right? And it just can't happen. They are solely responsible with the rest of the team as a unified team for it. And although everybody has responsibility for it, they are in charge of it and have the highest level of responsibility for it. So you get my point. The point is, there are certain things that PMs and supers go to sleep on, which they shouldn't. And I feel sometimes annoying with project teams when I'm asking them, I'm like, okay, so what about that risk? Somebody said that, this dewatering would be a problem, or we're going into the monsoon season, or the exterior skin consultant said these panels wouldn't caulk well together. What's the plan? And people will be like, oh no, it's fine. Well, what do you want me to do? They already said it would be fine. Oh, I sent an email. I already talked to that person. No. We need to dig into this, and we need to get on it and find out all the details. Well, you're asking me to do a lot of extra work. No, this is a very big thing. We need to dig in. Well, I told you, I already called them. And this argument goes back and forth, and people get annoyed because I am encouraging them to dig deeper because they've gone to sleep on the issue. They're not prepared. Their lamps aren't trimmed, and they're not waiting, and they don't have oil, and they're not watching, and they've gone to sleep on these issues for the sake of wishful thinking. Now, actually, this podcast just became kind of cool. I don't remember who told me. In fact, I gave somebody credit the other day for telling me this, and he said he didn't tell me this, but there's the rule of the 10th person. Oh, I know. I probably saw this in, I know where it was. I saw this in World War Z. This was when they were in the scene at the Jerusalem wall. He said I'm going to Google that right now. I'm going to find out exactly what it is. Hold on, everybody. Hold on. Okay, so it's World War Z, the 10th man. All right, here we go. Dang it, I can't believe I didn't have this prepared. I forgot where I found it. All right. In World War Z, one of the characters describes something called the 10th man rule or woman rule. After several disasters that no one thought could happen, the council decided that if a vote was unanimous against a positive outcome, one member would act as if it was absolutely going to happen and try to prevent it. Ooh, I like this. I don't know what to call this podcast now. Oh, no, I'll call it the 10th man rule or woman rule. Damn it, how am I going to do that? Anyway, and say don't fall asleep on items. If everybody's unanimous, somebody in the group has to start asking the hard questions. Somebody in the group has to start poking or prodding. Somebody in the group has to assume if something is going wrong, okay? So here's where this shows up a couple times. We're in the estimating process. Yeah, I think that should cover it. Yeah, I think that should cover it. Somebody should dig in and be like, I don't think that's going to cover it. How do we know that's going to cover our costs, right? We're in pre-construction and we're in a fresh eyes meeting. And if everybody's like, yeah, I think the weather should be fine, or I think the dewatering should be fine, or I think the exterior panels should be fine, or I think the scaffolding should be fine, the 10th man or woman should dig in and be like, well, what if it's not fine? What does that mean? Well, it will be fine. No. But what if it's not? How do we know? Well, there's a possible chance. Okay, well, what is that chance? Right? And keep digging and digging and digging and digging. And when we're in our team meetings, when we're all in the room and we're like, yeah, procurement seems to be fine. or, our quality process, everything seems to be going smoothly. The 10th man should be like, well, what's not going smoothly? Nothing ever goes smoothly. So why did we just say it's going to go smoothly? All that means is that we're not seeing the things that are going to go wrong. What could go wrong? Well, I guess if something could go wrong, well, what do you mean, I guess? Let's dig in. Will that go wrong? Well, it could go wrong. Well, if it could go wrong, what are we going to do to prevent it from going wrong? Well, if it did go wrong, this is what we do. Okay, well, then why aren't we doing and preparing that? Well, we don't know if it's going to go wrong. Well, if the likelihood is even a small percentage, what does it hurt to do the extra work? Well, you're telling me to do extra work. I don't really have time. Well, do we have time to fix it when it goes wrong? You get what I'm saying. There has to be a 10th man or woman that assumes that it's something that it will go wrong, and then the team needs to act accordingly, because nothing in construction ever goes right. So if we ever, with anything that's critical, assume that things are going to go well, and we're basing our management decisions on wishful thinking, we're in big trouble. Nothing ever works out. Nothing's ever going to happen by hope. Nothing is ever going to happen just because we are positive thinkers, right? Hope isn't even a real principle. Hope and faith go together, and faith is a principle of action, and action means we get off our butts and we figure it out. I want everything on your jobs either projected as a risk or a financial loss, and I want the president of the company to see that you've given up, or I want a mitigation plan to make sure that it doesn't. I don't want anything in the center in this wishful thinking category. I don't want anything under the principle of hope. I don't want anything under the concept of, that should probably be okay. It ain't going to be okay, right? So don't fall asleep on it. So here's the key. Anything that's high risk or crucial to the job, procurement, a phase tie-in, permanent power, dewatering, having good weather, the ordering of air handlers, scaffolding on the project site, having the right crews at the right time, whatever it is, let's use the Fred Strasser phrase of don't go to sleep on that issue, meaning you need to know your risks weekly and be covering those and be taking steps to mitigate them or project the loss on a weekly basis. I'm telling you, if you don't have a risk and opportunity register and an agenda item every week that talks about risk and opportunities, you're not leveraging your team meeting, your internal team meeting, the way you should. So a couple things, like I said, there always has to be a 10th woman or man that takes the opposing thought in every group. If everybody's reaching a consensus, then that group is worthless. I said it, right? If two people agree on everything, then one of them is not needed. So why do we have a project team if we don't have a little bit of healthy conflict, right? The other thing is, don't fall asleep. Don't go to sleep on critical issues. The other thing is, we should always take our risks and turn them into either projections or write-downs that the company owner knows so that we can communicate that we've given up, or you should be actively working on it to make sure that there's a mitigation plan so that it doesn't happen. And so I really just wanted to share this little podcast with you, and I hope it helps. On we go.
Please join us next time in elevating the entire construction experience for workers, leaders, and companies coast to coast. If you're enjoying the show, please feel free to share with your construction colleagues and help us spread the word